Given our social and economic identities as college students, I think we share a colloquial history and relationship with the Blue Line Trolley. Hoping for service auspiciously during my first year at San Diego, the Blue Line is an instrumental yet highly controversial feature to the sporadic and segregated landscape of San Diego. There has been a lot of praise and equal amounts of pushback for what it achieves: mobilization of San Diegans, regardless of socioeconomic status, across segregated lines. With a title of The Devil Comes to San Diego, listeners may automatically assume the shape of the devil to be that of an intruder. In the case of Rudy Guevara's book, from which the title is taken, the phantom specter of an ever-growing immigrant class. In the case of this film, The Blue Line. Contrary, the devil isn't the newly arrived unwelcome tenants, but a metaphor for the vitriolic white racist ideology emerging like wildfire in white domiciled communities at the threat of diversification. In San Diego, white residents took advantage of their population majority to, quote, create what George Sanchez refers to as geographies of difference, end quote. The Blue Line is an acting antithesis
This is the Blue Line trolley bound for the San Ysidro International Border via downtown San Diego. All passengers must have a valid fare. There is no smoking or eating permitted on the trolley, and drinks must be in a spill-proof or sealed container. Priority seating for senior and disabled riders is located near most doors. Please make these seats available when needed. In consideration of other passengers, do not place your feet on the seats. Thank you.
When I first saw the title of this article, I was taken aback by the strength of the chosen language. Ford and Griffin's article was written in 1979 when the word ghetto, or ghettoization, used in academic context, signified a historical origin to the Jewish ghettos in medieval Europe, where residents were kept segregated behind locked gates. Today, there is no longer the locked gate, but a combination of socioeconomic, racial, and abled identities that designate sections of the city where one can live and others where one is not allowed. This is the end result of residential segregation explored in The Devil Comes to San Diego. Enclaves differentiated by class, race, and ability sequestered to parts of the city where, before the Blue Line, were kept at an impenetrable distance. The current section of the Blue Line, from Civic Center Station to 12th and Imperial, is what my former students referred to as, quote, the crazies, end quote. Here, the Blue Line makes its way through the center of downtown. Here, the trolley car is no stranger to high school fights, dissociative episodes, and the occasional emergency sprints of Narcan. Why is it then important to mobilize this section of the city? Are the NIMBYs right that the Blue Line brings crime from the less desirable parts of the city? Continued segregation only seeks to worsen these issues, seen in San Francisco, where the mass migration of new job hopefuls spurred NIMBYs into increased segregation of the city, pushing crime rates, homelessness, and impoverishment up to unseen levels. Lessons from the, quote, ghettoization, end quote, of San Francisco need to be taken as we move forward in San Diego. Crime and homelessness do not exist on mass geographical scales by random, nor by averse human nature. Enforced segregation under the guise of protection is a tactic to keep the upper-class rich and powerful, and all too commonly utilizes us, the middle class, as foot soldiers to increase their positions while worsening the living standards of everyone else.
The root of having a transportation that you don't necessarily drive, that you actually can go from place to place as a community and a bus. So it was a long way to cross and coming back, and it was a new experience for the kids. Experiencing Mexico for the first time, that culture change when you cross the border is very impactful, because you go from organization to chaos basically, but it's your roots, right? If you go to Mexico, for the people, not everybody can afford a car. You should see the cars that people are driving in Mexico. You're like, oh my God, sometimes they don't have doors. If you go back to Mexico, it's back to where you came from. It's still real for them, because you don't see the majority of the population really going ahead. There's still a lot of poor people that they're not going to be able to afford a car. Cars is still a luxury in Mexico. Even here, everybody sort of or somewhat more can afford a car because it's our mode of transportation. In Mexico, it's not.
We say healthy, going yesterday.